Welcome. You're listening to the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast, a podcast production of the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Ashland County, Ohio. Thanks for joining us. And welcome back to another episode of the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast. My name is David Ross with the Mental Health and Recovery Board here in Ashland County. And in the studio, we have a full house. We've got with us, that's right, the Prevention Gals. This is the episode everybody likes to listen to. We've been doing this every year now for several years, even going back to the days when we were over at the iHeart Studios, but we've been doing it here in-house for a while. So who are the Prevention Gals? Well, it's Wendy Lemon, it's Leanne White, it's Chris Hickey, but we also have in studio, even though we don't have a microphone or a headset for her, but she's still here lurking, Suzanne Ford. So there's 4 prevention educators through ACADA. And because the ACADA director was concerned that this episode might go off the rails, Rick Ford is also in the studio. But we did not give him a microphone either because, you know, anything could happen if Mr. Ford was here on the mic. So thank you for all of you for making time this morning to talk about prevention education in Ashland County. You all are veterans. I know you've welcomed Suzanne, who started this past year, and have gotten her up to speed. We're going to go through some of our normal questions. I think folks are always curious what your year was like. And now that we're into the summer months, just getting ready to start a new school year, the kinds of things that are on your mind that you're maybe planning to do that are different than you've done in previous years. So, but let me always start with introductions in terms of maybe how long you've been doing this prevention education work, and then maybe a little bit about which schools you cover, because a lot of people don't know we're in all the different school districts. So I'll just go around the horn. So again, hopefully Wendy remembers where she went to school and who she is this year. Wendy, tell a little bit about yourself and what schools and maybe grades that you're going to be covering this upcoming school year.
Okay. I'm Wendy Lemon, and this is my 9th year as a prevention educator. I work with Loudonville, Perrysville School District.
Great.
And Ashland City School District. This year, I should be working with Loudonville in grades K through 3.
Okay.
And then in Ashland City, I will be doing K through 5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And how long have you been with ACADA again?
This is 9 years now.
9 years.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going so fast.
Right? No.
Crazy.
No.
It has.
gone
I
fast?
really cannot believe how fast it's gone. Like,
Wow.
it's crazy.
All right. All right. And then Chris Hickey, you might have been around a few years.
Talk about going fast. Yeah. So, yes, I'm Chris Hickey, and I am the prevention consultant. Been here the longest between my colleagues, but I was figuring out this morning, this will be my 33rd year in the schools.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought
So I
this
was
year was
re-
34. So.
No,
Okay.
because it was 92 was when I
92,
started.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's the queen of
Yeah.
prevention.
Yeah. And so my schools are Mapleton, Hillsdale, Crestview, and I do some classes at our Ashland Career Center,
Okay.
Ashland West Holmes County Career Center.
Which, they're changing the name, and I'm very confused.
Oh, I have not heard that.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
I know they've changed buildings, and that was a little problematic last school year, and
Yeah.
it'll be the same this coming the first semester. But
They're going to call it like the Heartland something.
oh,
Yeah.
that used to be the nursing
Yeah.
home out there, the Heartland.
Yeah, maybe that's why they're incorporating it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Yes, so I've been around the block a few times
Oh.
in the prevention, but I truly have a heart for prevention, or I would, and I always say I really do love my job.
Yeah.
The last couple years, it's been a little bit more, just trying to stay one step ahead, a
Yeah.
little bit more
Yeah.
difficult that way, but yeah,
Yeah, I think we'll talk about some of those
perfect.
those trends and patterns that I think make your jobs, all of your jobs, particularly challenging in this day and age. Last but not least, in terms of intros, is Leanne White.
Yeah. So this is my 7th year. And I know, which is crazy. Actually, like 6.5, because I started like in mid school year, my first year. I am in Loudonville, 7th through 12th. I am at the Career Center, and I am at Ashland High School.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, and again, as I say, we also have Suzanne and Rick Ford in studio. And maybe if somebody can, Suzanne, even if you can shout it, how long, Suzanne, have you been with Caden as a prevention educator, and maybe which buildings are you in?
Hi, David. I have been with Akeda. I started in January, so not too long, but the ladies have welcomed me, and I've learned so much
Yeah.
just from observing them. This past school year, I was with Taft doing 4th and 5th grade,
Okay.
and then Ashland Middle School.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. And
Thank you.
So
Thank you for sharing the
Suzanne's
mic.
gonna fill in places where we know we need to get to, but we just don't have the time.
Gotcha.
Because all of us are technically part-time,
Right.
but you can only get about 6-7 hours in a school day, and so
Yeah.
it's
Well-
just a lot of kids to get to.
Right. And again, in talking with Mr. Ford over the last few years, I mean, because of your good work and because of what's been going on in our culture and our society and our county, the demand from the schools has continued to go up. And it did get to a point where I think Rick said, after talking with you, it just, you guys couldn't get to all the needs that were being expressed. So that's when we kind of laid the groundwork for Suzanne to join the team. So we're glad to have you. So before we jump in too much, I always like to ask, what surprised you the year that was last school year, 24-25? And when you think back on that as we're getting ready to start the new year, but what surprised you, or what did you not anticipate that occurred last year in your prevention education work?
I would say that I'm with the older kids.
Yeah.
Except for Loudonville, I'm in middle school, but at the Career Center, I spend a lot of time, Ashland High School. I am shocked by how many older kids, I'm talking juniors, seniors, are trying to quit vaping.
Oh,
Yeah. I have several students at the Career Center who are, I come there about once, sometimes twice a month, and they'll say, I'm 3 days clean. And I'm like, that's awesome. Or they'll say, I'm 2 weeks, or I'm just really shocked on how many kids are trying to quit.
wow. So
Because
actively,
I think they have seen how addicting it is.
yeah,
And it's very hopeful.
that's great. Other things that maybe you noticed in 24-24 that
I
stuck
would
out?
definitely agree with Leanne, because my work at the Career Center, especially if it's on a Monday, and kids are like, I'm struggling. Had a good week, I had a good week, but then the weekend came, and now I'm trying to. So Mondays are always rough. But what surprised me the most last year, and Leanne had spoke a little bit about it, the amount of, because I do junior high, high school, and elementary too, but my amount of high school kids talking about hallucinogenics, microdosing, all of those types, and which I was not really expecting. So I had to kind of like back up, make sure that I was speaking correctly about what things, and I think that all comes from like media that they're watching, and there's a lot of buzz about it, and what they're watching on social media platforms, and is not necessarily the things that I am watching. So trying to kind of go back and make sure that they have the right information.
Sure.
Because, and I was so shocked, like, why are 6th graders asking me about shrooms? Where did they hear that? Or where have they seen that? And so we've gotten into some pretty good discussions there. But that was what was the most surprising to me last year.
Leanne, or Wendy, sorry.
So probably the most surprising thing for me was in a 5th grade class, we do pre and post tests when we start a class. And in 5th grade, that's when we first, it's at the end, the very last lesson, we just begin to introduce marijuana and talk a little bit about how it affects the brain and a person's ability to do stuff. I think one of the things that really shocked me was this one student asked me with this question, which was, which of these things does marijuana do to the brain? And 3 of them were like, oh, it doesn't affect it at all kind of stuff. And one was, well, it'll slow down your reaction time. And he raised his hand and he said, I don't understand. Which marijuana are we talking about? Oh. Are we talking about medical or are we talking about like, the other kind? And so that kind of surprised me that they, at that age,
Yeah.
had that understanding of difference. And through a course that I've been taking this summer,
Sure.
I've been learning like
Yeah.
that really is a misconception.
Yep.
And that it really does, affect.
That's good because that's
same.
on the agenda to talk a
Yes.
little bit about
Yeah.
later. I think so. That young of an age.
That young
Yeah.
surprised me. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be surprised as well.
So I guess I did an ad that I also go into the Croc Center during the summer.
Okay.
This is my second year doing that, and that is from 5 years. I think their oldest kid is maybe like 11 or 12, but this summer, very young kids are well aware of what marijuana is, and yeah.
And
Well-
I've had that kids ask like, so what? Same thing. Like,
Right.
what are we talking? Are we talking Delta 8?
Yeah.
Whoa! Like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Like,
Where'd you hear that?
right.
Yeah.
Just
Well, one of the things that has changed, even since because it's only been about a year since we last recorded. One of the things we just can't help but notice if you're in Ashland County is the number of vape shops that have opened up. So, I was thinking, and I've talked with folks, and I just have to imagine, especially the locations, which we talked a little bit about before we even started recording. They're close to a lot of the schools. They're pretty visible in the community. There's a lot more this year than there were last year. And I just wanted to ask you all, it just seems like it would make the work that you're trying to do harder because it appears to be everywhere. And again, even though there's age restrictions, I just have to wonder about, the vaping, because we talked about last year being more common just as a mechanism in the pouches. Remember we talked about that last year. But I just do you feel like maybe the acceptance or the appearance of the acceptance of these vape shops, so many of them in Ashland County, has it made your work more challenging, and if so, maybe how a little bit? Anybody can take that.
I think it just is it's normalizing it.
Yeah.
It's, the access to it. Because, when that first one popped up, it was, oh yeah, that shop. Well, that kind of became like that stigma, like that shop. Now they're just popping up everywhere, and it's so normal that it kind of takes away I don't know, like
There's not like the social stigma maybe
Yeah,
of it,
yeah.
like that it's acceptable,
right,
rather
that it's like
than-
acceptable, it's normalized, it's here,
Yeah.
it's, they're popping up everywhere where there's kids walking by all the time.
Yeah,
So yeah.
One of the things I've seen with the younger kids, because I'll just, especially at Taft, and it surprised me last year, and again this year, just to see they're angry about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
tell me more about that one.
So when we get to the nicotine topic,
Uh-huh.
you can see them like they just get this energy and they're, did you know? They'll
see.
say, did you see it over there? Why did they put it near our school? Why did they do
see.
this? What I'm seeing from younger students is actually like more of a understanding that this is not healthy.
Yeah,
When I first started 9 years ago, there was this misconception that this is just water vapor.
Right.
It's flavored water vapor and it's not going to hurt you. It's not a big deal. And that seems to be fading.
okay.
The younger students are looking at that as that's really not good for you. That's bad. You shouldn't do that. And I almost feel like we see a response from tobacco companies of, okay, that one's passed, so now we've got to get the next thing out there, because this is all about making money. And that's one of the things, especially as they get a little bit older, we talk a lot about is this is a business. This is not like to get you your rights,
Right.
and let you do what you want to do. This is about
Yeah,
making money. And if they can addict you when you're young, they've got you for a long time.
yeah.
and the marketing behind the whole
yeah.
vape culture
Yes.
is huge.
It
and,
is.
You go back and it was presented to the American population that
Right.
this is a healthy alternative. Where have we heard that before?
Exactly.
So we go back and look at the history of tobacco.
Yes.
Like forever, back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, nobody knew that smoking was bad.
Right.
Then we find out smoking's really, really bad. So they rebranded themselves and they came out with smokeless tobacco, which sounded good to begin with. And now, what do we find out about smokeless tobacco? It's damaging as well.
Right.
So then vapes, and that's where I'm seeing, I've seen a lot of parents who used to be cigarette smokers who are now vaping, who really, we think everybody knows the dangers of vaping because that's what we do every day, right? We try to educate people. But there's this whole culture of adults raising kids who are vaping. And even though the numbers for adults is lower than our junior high and high school kids that vape, what I'm seeing, the kids who are vaping have easy access to it
Yes.
because it's in their households because their parents are thinking, well, this is better than smoking. And I think that's problematic because, and we say it all the time, what you say in the classroom, you hope makes an impact, but it's far less than what they're actually living in their households.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, that was encouraging, though, Wendy, to hear that there is more of this understanding that these vape shops, like, we don't want to accept them. They're in our neighborhood, and we don't like that.
Yeah.
And that's because you're right. We talked about this 2 or 3 years ago. The education at that time was right. This is just water vapor. What's the big deal?
Right.
This is safe. So you guys have worked hard, I think, to help educate. That's not what's going on with vapes.
Right.
And I would like to see, like I need to investigate a little bit more, like our city to pass an ordinance that kids under 21, because that's the legal age to
Yep.
be able to purchase anything, are not allowed in those stores.
Right.
Apparently maybe if they're with an adult, they could go in. But like I know that vape shop that's right next to your school, they sell candy bars and sodas.
Yep.
So is that
So kid can buzz
I
in
see.
there
Yep.
and just be exposed to all that. And I think that that should be something we look at too. I mean, that could be one community thing that we could do
Yep.
Yeah.
to reinforce what we're trying to do in the schools.
Exactly. And that's kind of why I raised the question, because I thought that the community might be able to do some things like that, common sense things to make your job easier. Because if, just because they have things like candy bars and whatnot that young minors can purchase, does that then allow them to be exposed to all these other things they can't access? And is it that, it seems like there should be a way to overcome that. But that's an interesting point, Chris. They draw them in. I mean, to allow them to have entrance for those things they can buy, but then they're exposed to all kinds of things they shouldn't be exposed to.
Right.
And is that allowable, or is there any restrictions on it? And I don't know either. It's something maybe City Council and the mayor can look into, because we just have so many
So
of these.
many. What do we think about 8?
Yeah.
And they're
easy.
all so close. They're
They
like
are close.
clustered.
They're clustered together,
Yes.
particularly right here around our middle school, high school, Taft
Yeah.
College.
And
Yeah.
the one that just went up by the university,
Right.
Leanne
Yep.
was saying they offer a discount if you're a college student.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, something else that was breaking last year when we were recording, and we didn't really know what the impact would be, was the legalization of recreational marijuana. So for some years we had the medical usage of marijuana, and I remember you talking to the audience about how you had to explain, why that existed, who would, why that was okay, and you did a lot of that in your education. But then we knew that once they legalized recreational use, it was probably going to, again, just like with the vaping, make your jobs a little harder, because you're going to get questions from the young people saying, well, wait a minute, didn't they just pass a law? So has that happened yet, where this past year, looking back, that you've had more pushback from maybe the students, particularly in the marijuana, because of recreational? Yeah.
I think we all kind of just took the stance that we're going to treat it like alcohol.
Oh, okay.
Alcohol is legal for anyone over the age of 21, and there's a reason for that.
Right.
And all the kids are well aware. We talk about it all the time. And they're like, we know, Mrs. White, because our brain's not developed. And so I take that stance with marijuana. Yes, it is now legal for adults over the age of 21, and there's a reason for that. It is still not okay for you.
Right.
And then they bring up the medical.
Yep.
Okay, we know there are people who do benefit from medical marijuana, just like there's people who benefit from ADHD meds or anxiety meds or blood pressure medication. That doesn't mean we all need to be on it.
Right.
Right.
And one of the things that I've learned in this course this summer is that medical marijuana is not necessarily given like, or some of the forms that people take is not necessarily given as a dose, or this is how much you take, but you take till you feel better. Well, any medicine, that's not how that works.
Right.
You know, so there are definitely differences,
Right.
and because of I think the struggle between states' rights and being able to legalize that, and then the federal government saying no, there are no boundaries for
Right.
this. There's no
Yeah,
set.
everything got real murky.
It really did, and this confuses a lot of people, and yeah, there's just a lot of misconceptions and a lot of things that people don't know.
Did any of your students say anything about, hey, my neighbor's growing it, or are folks seeing that?
I mean, I hear those kinds of stories all the time, you know. Especially when I'm in Lownville, because they've got the
Right, that's
the
right.
Mohegan canoeing and all that stuff, and the dispensaries going up.
Right.
So I had to clear up some rumors there. We had a couple young kids like, are they going to sell fentanyl there? No. Like, so I mean, it's a lot of like, they know it's happening down there, but I think some of the younger kids are still confused on what a dispensary is and what's allowed. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we get stories all the time about.
I've had a lot more kids disclose since it's been legal that their adults in their life are using. And I was in a small group. And I won't say the school, but I was in a small group with 5 kids, and 3 out of the 5 kids smoke with their parents or grandparents.
Okay.
So that's a tough spot to be in as an educator, where you're trying to prevent something that's already in
Happening.
full blown,
Yeah.
going on. And that's hard when you're trying to tell a kid like alcohol, you have to be 21. Same thing with marijuana,
Yeah.
21, because it affects your brain differently. But again, what they're seeing at home,
Right.
Yeah.
that just
Yeah.
makes it harder.
And it's really hard to not place judgment on them, you know,
Right.
because you don't want
Right.
to, but it's then to educate them and say,
Right.
Or trying to get past them thinking you're just some old
Yeah,
person
yeah.
that just doesn't
Yeah.
get it, as
Sure.
far as you just don't know. And I just
Yeah.
I love how you're using other substances. You mentioned whether it's psychiatric medications or other prescriptions, high blood pressure or alcohol. I like how you're using these other examples where this wouldn't be acceptable either. I think that's probably helpful for some of these young people. But for the audience, I mean, just understand the challenges that these prevention educators are up against when we legalize marijuana and when we have vape shops on every corner. It does make it harder. It does, I think, probably feel to the young people that we're sending them some kind of mixed messages. It's okay, but just not okay for us yet. And that's
Exactly.
that's a tough message for a young person to kind of.
And I see this a lot with the younger kids.
Yeah.
They'll ask me questions all the time, just back to nicotine. I don't understand.
Yep.
If we know how bad this is for us, then why do we let people do it? And I love their heart,
Right,
I
right.
absolutely love their heart. But helping them to understand this is the thing we need
It's
to
a
know.
business.
It's a
Like you said,
business.
it's a
They're
business.
trying to get money, and we're not going to shut businesses down.
Yeah. No, but what an interesting practical
Yeah.
lesson. We allow adults to make bad decisions that could even harm themselves
Yes.
physically, but we do allow for that in this country. But yeah, for a young person, they're like, well, why would people make decisions that would, intentionally cause? They know that it's not going to be
Yeah.
good for them, and they do it anyhow. Yeah, they
And
do.
that's kind of one of the approaches that in the last 2-3 years I've tried. Because you can talk till you're blue in the face about what marijuana does to your
Right.
brain, what it does, what alcohol does to your, liver, and all. You can talk and talk and talk. I have been trying to focus on like mental health. Like,
Yeah.
why do
Yep,
you think?
exactly. Yeah.
Why are you trying to change how you feel?
Uh-huh.
Or try to get them goal oriented.
Right.
Like, how would developing an issue interrupt your goal? Because we know without a doubt that a drug issue would interrupt any forward movement that you're making towards a goal that you're passionate about. So trying to get kids to like why are you like masking feelings
exactly.
or
Why
what
are you doing
looking
this?
what are you
Yes.
looking for? Are you
Yeah.
just a risk taker? And you do get those
Yeah.
kids, but the majority of what I'm seeing, junior high, high school kids, the number one reason they think people experiment with any type of drugs is to deal with emotional stuff.
Yep. And I think that's a bigger issue of our culture underneath all of it, even for our adults.
Absolutely.
And we've talked about this in the past. You know, we want to avoid pain. We don't want to sit with it and heal from it.
Right.
It's a whole lot quicker to just mask it, ignore it, and move on. And trying to, it almost feels like what we're trying to do is work with the kids to change the culture
Yeah.
for the future.
That next generation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of next generation, do you have some plans and goals that you could share with the audience about this upcoming school year? Anything in particular for each one of you? I'd like to ask maybe what you would like to see happen. Wide open question, but for this next school year, 25-26, anybody can start.
I think my goals are just staying current, staying up on
Yeah.
I mean, my older kids, they keep me very current. They'll bring up something, are we going to talk about this drug? And I'm like, next
me a
time.
minute.
Because I need to.
You need to do your own
Figure
research.
out.
Yeah.
Right.
But the hallucinogens is a big one.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's because of there's a lot of documentaries out right now kind of promoting microdosing. There's a lot of Netflix series like Euphoria that the kids are watching, and that exposes them to a lot more. So yeah, just staying current and talking about the dangers with that. And then for the younger kids with me, which I just only go down to 7th grade, but the safety of marijuana edibles,
Okay.
which kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. But I think that's something that parents, if you are using edibles, you have got to keep those up and away.
Yep.
Because they look, smell, and
Right.
a lot of
Taste,
times
yeah.
one gummy
Way
is
too much.
several servings.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if a kid comes across them and, we'll have one.
I
Excellent.
had that happen twice this past school year where an older kid disclosed, I'm talking like intermediate school, disclosed that they had a younger sibling who ended up in the emergency room because they got into the parents' gummies. And so that's something that
Yeah.
we talk about in, kindergarten. Like if you find something in your house that's not where your medicines are, but it looks like candy, it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can say, these are mine. Do
Right.
not eat these. But we know kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You say, I can't.
Right.
I'm going to find a way.
I have had a lot of positive feedback from parents, actually,
Mm-hmm.
just when I've been out in the community and run into them with our medicine candy board,
Oh, yeah.
and how much they've thanked me for that, because they thought I never realized how much this looks like this.
Yep.
And my little kids may not realize, and so that message is now getting reinforced a lot more in homes with little kids because they're
Not everybody knows about your board, Wendy. Can you describe that to the audience?
Yes. So we have a candy medicine board where we play a game with the kids at the fair or, any kind of back to school kind of thing. I've taken it into classrooms where we have just a bunch of different things. They're either medicines like, Pepto-Bismol,
Cough drops,
Benadryl, cough drops, vitamins,
melatonin.
stuff
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
melatonin.
melatonin. And then we have a candy that looks very similar to that. And it really surprises parents as they are sitting there looking at it going, I don't know which is which.
A lot of times we don't. We
Yeah,
have to look at the
we
back.
have to look at
We're
it.
like, okay, let me look.
I have to refresh my memory. Once I got it, then I'm good. But yeah, if we move it around,
Yeah.
sometimes I have no idea.
Well, Leanne wants to stay current. Chris, Wendy, what some goals or things that you'd like to do this year?
I have been trying to encourage kids to kind of self-evaluate lifestyle choices and the power that they have over the choices that they make. That's going to continue, hopefully, through this school year. And trying to get kids focused on goals, being goal-oriented, finding something that they have a passion about, which I'm finding really difficult. Like my junior high school kids can't name something that they're really excited about, that they're get up in the morning and they can't wait to get to, you know, and trying to feed the emotional side.
Yeah.
Because if kids don't have, and we see starting when kids start school, that emotional regulation, it's hard to, that socio-emotional thing is so huge. It's because all of that, if they can't control that, then we leave the door wide open for experimentation, bad decisions, and on and on. So I have been focusing more on like the kind of like the mental health side. Like one of the things, the energy drinks.
Yeah.
Like, why are you consuming so much caffeine in a day? Is it because you truly have insomnia, or is it because you were playing violent video games up
Right.
until 3 o'clock in the morning and you know you're sleep deprived?
Or drinking energy drinks at night.
At night, yeah, exactly. And how long?
The kids tell
yeah.
me they drink them round the clock.
Exactly, and no wonder you can't sleep. So trying to encourage them to be honest with themselves.
Yeah.
And what do you want out of life, and how would developing a drug problem interrupt that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
So
Excellent.
that's how I'm kind of approaching my school year.
Yeah, I actually follow a lot of the same thing.
Okay.
I think especially with the little kids that I'm working with, like we're building the foundation for what they're going to do as they get older.
Yeah.
And I feel really strongly about each kid knowing their value,
Yeah.
and that there's no replacement for them.
Yep.
That they bring something to the community that nobody else brings. And so helping them understand their value and that they're empowered. They can make decisions. They don't have to just do what somebody else does, and that they can even use their power to help their friends make better choices too,
Yeah.
to be the person they were created to be.
No, that's good. And let me throw you a curveball, because we had a really good discussion about a year ago around screen time. And has there, maybe just to update audience, have you noticed any changes? I mean, just as a refresher, I'm sure the audience knows this, but our young people, but even our adults, but a lot of our young people, they are spending, depending on what research you read, upwards of 8 or more hours in front of screens of different types, whether that's, computer, TV, phones, et cetera. And it's just it's a massive amount of time and that they're not, as they say, touch grass, being in person in relationships. Are you seeing any changes there, or are we still where we were about a year ago?
Well, how much time do you have? One of the things that surprised me over the past couple of years, the amount of kids in starting school and well into 4th, 5th, 6th grade who have speech issues.
No.
And I was just reading something last night. They're putting together that toddlers on screens, that's not how language develops. And it's not somebody's opinion. It's neuroscience.
Right.
It's studied. Like kids have to have face-to-face interaction. They have to see your expressions. And I'm seeing that, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, where having a conversation, using words, being animated, doing anything creative, it's becoming more and more difficult. And I think that is definitely related to screen time. And what I notice in the classroom, which I've had to get much better at, I used to be able to go in, give information, we'd do an activity or a worksheet or something, and everything was good. Now, the attention spans, because we can't possibly go as fast as those kids can swipe. If something doesn't catch their attention in the first nanosecond,
Right.
and we've talked about this before on this podcast, if we have them watch a video about something, and if it's longer than about 2 minutes, there's all this pushback.
They're moaning and groaning.
Yeah, moaning and groaning. Like, oh my gosh, this video is 8 minutes long.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking little kids. I'm talking
Right.
junior
Yeah.
high school kids. So that, I think, is hard. And then now we're going to be dealing this year with AI and things that they see that they think are true, and social media and body dysmorphia. I mean, oh my gosh, it's such an expansive problem.
We're not out of the woods yet with our screens.
No, and again, I would just encourage parents.
Yes.
to look at their own behavior.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, if you're on your phone all the time, the
Right.
kids are going to be on the phone all the time, and just monitoring.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I mean, that's so hard because it's such a part of our culture now.
The governor's come out and said, schools should, separate the kids from their phones. Now, I don't know if every district has adopted a policy, like put them in a locker or most
So
of the.
last year was the first year Loudonville, they had to be in their locker.
Okay.
And I walked in and I was like, what is going on this year? Like, this is like really, I mean, kids were talking to each other.
So you did notice a change right away.
A huge shift.
Excellent.
A huge shift.
Okay.
And talking to the teachers, they were like, yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
because there for a while, they had them in their pockets, then you'd have to put them in a thing on the wall with a number, but then they, you can see them like buzzing, and then you'd have the kids that didn't put it, and now it's in a locker, and if we see it out, it's gone.
Wow.
Crestview starting it this year. I can't speak to Ashland.
Yeah.
The Career
Mapleton
Center, I did
has
not
it.
see them. I think they're allowed in their book bags. They just cannot bring them out.
Yeah.
I believe that's what Mapleton's is.
Yeah. But Loudonville's was in your locker.
Yeah, no, I like to hear that because again, that's consistent with the research I've read. Is there's almost an immediate change
Immediate,
in a
yeah.
return back to more interactions with each other, and again, all the benefits that come from that.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking how difficult the start of the school year could be because kids have had time off, and a lot of those kids
That's
are
right.
going to have,
Right.
they've been plugged in all summer,
Right, right.
and then school starts, and they're in active withdrawal.
Yeah,
honestly,
screen time
and
detox.
it sounds, and people don't believe
No,
that,
that
but it is
really is what it
100%
is.
true.
Yeah.
They're irritable.
Yep.
Interesting.
They're
Yeah.
fidgety. They can't concentrate, and it's because
So we might
they're-
expect some of that
Oh,
to start the year.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
absolutely.
I listened to a podcast last spring. I think I sent it out, and then read this man's book about a 7-week break he took from all screens. And his job is actually on screens. But he took a break, and he started before he put screens away. He did a brain scan, and then at the end did a brain scan again. And there was a healing that took place in 7 weeks of his brain. And a lot of it was that social emotional
Yeah.
area, that connection to people. It was firing, whereas before on screens, that part of his brain was just not firing.
Interesting.
And so there is so much
There's
there.
so much neuroscience
Yes.
behind it.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's
Well-
and it's such a double-edged sword because the kids need, screen time
Right.
to accomplish because most of the learning is,
Yes. Yeah.
all the kids. I don't know about your schools, but most of the kids by
They have a
sixth
tablet or
grade have
something.
a Chromebook.
Chromebook,
and
okay.
everything's online,
Yeah.
and that's how they do
Yeah.
their homework and all of that. So it's
Yeah.
but
Again,
it's also it's just problematic.
it's not going away.
right.
Yeah.
But I think that it's
I want to
it's
see the
addiction,
pendulum kind
right?
of swing back a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we have to put boundaries around it and teach that. Like we have to, as adults, get it first.
I've heard
because we don't
I've heard
have it.
more and more just my in my daily life heard more and more parents who have younger children who maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th grade who are saying my kid absolutely is not getting a phone. They will not have social media until they
Yeah.
are 16.
Yeah.
Okay.
know,
That's what a lot of the literature is recommending.
And that's something that I bring up in my classes too. Is like before you post something, we always talk about is it true, is it helpful or whatever, but is it worthy?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, does somebody really need
Yeah.
to know you just these flaming hot Cheetos are awesome? Like it's
Yeah,
just like is
exactly.
it because then we're minimizing things that are really fantastic, like something that is really joyful
Yeah.
just gets like swiped away because along with all the other nonsense that's
Right.
out there. So
One of the things that stuck with me a couple months ago when I was talking to a lot of the liaisons, they had talked to me about the pressure that a lot of young people feel, even like texting, which I wouldn't have thought would have been such a high anxiety thing. But the idea that if you're part of a group text, well, one, are you part of the group text, the right group text? But also, like if you don't respond either quickly or the right way, like there's real pressure, and I didn't really fully appreciate that. But even something as simple as texting can be full of a lot of anxiety.
punctuation
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
text.
The wrong emojis, or I had no idea it was so complicated that, you respond in a certain way within a certain period of time.
Yeah.
So
I can see that being a source of stress for kids. 'Cause,
Yeah.
if you respond to group texts and then no one responds to you'd be
Right.
like, did I say the wrong thing?
Did I say the wrong
not
thing?
do it
Right.
right? Are
And
they
that's
mad at me?
something,
I can see
in a
that being
text you can't read body language,
Nope.
emotion, tone. You can't.
Yes.
So there's
Yes.
all these
Yeah.
jumping to
Yep.
conclusions
Yep.
and then drama and
I see that with adults in group text, let alone young
Absolutely.
people.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I talk about that when we talk about kind of phones and screen time and things like that in classes, that, you can text somebody, you can put something out there on social media, but the majority of our actual communication is not our words.
right.
It's everything else. It's
Yeah.
the body language, the tone of voice, everything, and it's missing.
One of my kids texts me like, "Why is Grandma yelling at me through text?" Because it was all capital letters. I'm like, "Because Grandma doesn't know how to turn the caps
text.
lock.
Yeah.
She doesn't know how to
That's all
turn
it
that
is.
off." But
She's not
But
angry.
they were like really upset that why is Grandma yelling at me? Like,
Well, Wendy, Leanne, Chris, and Suzanne, thank you for your time and your expertise and sharing it with us once again. But before we go, if folks need to get a hold of you for any reason, what's the best way to do that? Should they call the main Acada number? Because I know you guys are usually out and about. So
Yeah.
is that still
but
the
our
best way?
office staff does
Yeah.
a great job.
Okay.
They
If
get
somebody
back to us
needs
with
something,
messages.
if you call Acada, which is 419-289-7675,
Yep.
and just explain what your need is or what your concern is, and then they will get that message to us, and
Excellent.
we can contact that person.
Yeah.
Would you agree
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's the best way?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, all of you, very much. And Mr. Ford lurking in the background, we didn't allow him to disrupt us at all. So until next time, let's keep Ashland healthy. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Keeping Ashland Healthy podcast. The podcast is a production of the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Ashland County, Ohio. You can reach the board by calling 419-281-3139. Please remember that the board funds a local 24/7 crisis line through Appleseed Community Mental Health Center. It can be reached by calling 419-289-6111. That's 419-289-6111. Until next time, please join us in keeping Ashland healthy.